What if you could eliminate styrofoam cushions or EPS foam with a plastic-free natural material that can slot right into recycling streams or vanish into nature without leaving a single microplastic behind? If you're new, this is Packaging Unboxd. I'm Evelio Mattos, packaging designer / structural packaging engineer and host of Packaging Unboxd. Every week, we unpack the newest packaging designs, manufacturing processes, planet-friendly materials so that packaging designers, brand builders, and procurement pros can turn bold ideas into production-ready reality. If that's your lane, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Today, we're speaking to Luisa Januzzi and Susanna Partanen of Woamy, a Finnish startup that's engineered a cellulose-based foam that's going to end the reliance on expanded polystyrene. Basically, they're about to kill styrofoam. Before we get to the show and tell, here are 5 questions you should always ask any new material supplier. So just make sure that you've got these on your clipboard. 1, does this material create dust in transit? Consumers hate dirty looking products, and foams are notorious for leaving dust all over your product. 2, where does the raw material come from? Find out those sources because that's going to impact the decisions that you make in manufacturing. 3, humidity and temp. What happens at 80% humidity to that foam, to that product, to that paper? Does it get moldy? Do you have issues? Ask now before you pay later. What are the bonding methods? If it's a plastic-free material, but it requires plastic glue, like a hot melt, then it's not plastic-free anymore. Recyclability, compatibility. Does it ride with paper? And is that material actually collected where your products are sold? These are questions you should ask any new material product supplier just to make sure you understand what you're getting. There's a ton more questions, but these are 5 that are great as a starting point. All right, so let's get to it and find out if Woamy belongs in your next product packaging. I want to talk to you about Woamy, what it is, what it does, and right off the bat, it's like an EPS replacement that's recyclable. 2 examples. I think this is probably the most basic.
Yeah.
Right, where we have this fluted, almost corrugated-like material.
Yeah, I can show you a little bit slightly bigger version of basically the original sheet that we start with, what comes out of our machine. So this is, and it's what is, and it has this kind of flexibility. So this is what it all starts with.
Okay.
And this is also, with this, it's going to give a nice sound effect for your podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, this already shows the core of the technology here, because here we are with the extrusion technique, we are mimicking the directional strength of wood. So this gives the directional strength to the product. Mm-hmm. And with this, we can then post-process it to different kinds of needs. So we can utilize the strong direction and get very high load-bearing capacity on this direction.
Okay.
Yes. And then if we flip it around and utilize the soft direction, then we get very soft foam that we can then use to replace different kinds of foams, like different kinds of polyurethanes or PE foams.
The same material. Right, so this is how it's extruded from your equipment, and then you can either have it going this direction, which is squishy, or the other side, which is more rigid. And then the reason that I care about that is because depending on the product that I'm putting in there, I might require a more stiff foam, or I might require something that has a little bit more cushioning. And then could I change the direction for several layers so that I can control the stiffness? Or is it either this stiff or this loose?
Well, what often we do is work with layers. So this packaging, for example, this is a soft board. And then you have the directional strength going to the sides, where most of the load at this point is going to happen. While on the bottom, we have a strong board. So it takes the load from there. So depending on how we layer the packaging, we can control where the strong direction is going to be. Okay. And we can do it 2 directions. For the case of the cutouts, usually involves 1 strong and 1 or 2 soft with cutouts to get the maximum protection.
Okay.
Mm. And with this, we can then also optimize the weight of the overall packaging.
The basic question here is, what problem is this material solving?
Well, we are on a mission to replace as much harmful plastic foams in the packaging industry as possible. I think it's something that a lot of people are already aware of, that those plastic foams are very hard to recycle and have many other environmentally questionable aspects to them as well. And one of the key things that we address with our product is that because it's cellulose based and we use FSC-certified kraft pulp to make it, the product is completely recyclable in cardboard streams, or in depending on the country, paper and cardboard recycling streams. So making it very easy for the end user to recycle the whole packaging together with the cardboard and the foam inside. And then the second thing is that because we're not adding any plastics or harmful chemicals to the product, even if it would end up in the nature, then it wouldn't cause any microplastics or any other harm and waste behind, which is very important for us to ensure that the product life cycle is fully circular, no matter how the end user would behave.
Yeah, and we only use bio-based products, so everything's from renewable sources, from certified sources.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So just to reiterate, Woamy is a cellulose-based foam. You're getting this from FSC certified forests, craft material, and then you're outputting this. You're able to then do the natural color or a white color, and then you can color anything that you want.
Yeah, so currently our main colors are the natural cream and then the more like paper white, and the color comes directly from the fibers we're using. So depending if we want to try different kinds of fibers, or for example, we tried this recycled fiber. This is, what is the term?
Pre-consumer recycled fibers.
Pre-consumer recycled fibers. So you can see this is purple and the color comes straight from the fibers. Again, there is possibility also to add color. That is something that we don't yet offer to our customers, but it is definitely something that we believe in the future we can expand the color
and
portfolio.
Also with the right customer, we are very happy to run trials to reach this. We believe that the same dyes used in the paper industry can be easily applied to our material as well. Of course, it's a foam, so there is always a little bit of desaturation in the manufacturing process. So we might not be able to do very dark foams, but one alternative to this is to have a printed board attached to the surface, depending on the project.
Of course.
And of course, one of the things that we are also interested are different kinds of natural dyes, and it's something that we would like to expand upon if we with that direction.
Okay, so then, all right, so we've got a cellulose-based foam. It essentially replaces an EPS foam. It comes in natural. It comes in white. You've got the flexibility of strength. Now, how do I glue all these layers together? Are we using chemical bonding agents? Are we using plastic glues, like hot melt glues? Like, how are those layers coming together?
Right now, to make our boards and all the variations of like products that we offer, they attach just with the thin layer of moisture that allows the fibers to bond together and keep the material as a unit that doesn't split. So there is no addition. It's just very thin layer of water sprayed between the layers.
So they just adhere naturally with water. Yeah. Okay.
And to be fair, we've done it with board as well. Attach the board just with a thin layer of water to the foam. It also works quite well.
Okay.
Yeah. The fiber naturally attached to each other.
As long as the board doesn't have a very thick coating, it should work.
Yeah.
Okay. So as a brand, then it doesn't matter how many layers I do or what processes I add to this, it still remains plastic free and it is as natural as paper.
Yeah. Like there is no technical limitations in terms of how you combine the layers. Of course, the thicker you go, the harder it is to process it afterwards.
Sure.
But there is no real technical limitation in terms of sizes. We have a limited output size now because of the prototype machine we have working now, but technically speaking, for the next line, there are no limitations.
And maybe one thing to mention also is that currently we are doing attaching the layers are in-house. So we are working with converters to then process it further for the end packaging.
Okay.
But for now, customers don't have to worry about the attaching process.
Okay, so if you want to get ahead in packaging, you've got to grab the free Packatexture book from the team at idpdirect.com. It's over 70 pages of structural design renders explaining the benefits of each construction that you can use for inspiration, design, sustainability hacks, and even get quote-ready specs. Download it for free at idpdirect.com. All you got to do is click Design Guides. Okay,
Yeah.
and then so with like EPS foams, right? Because it's an expanded material and they have molds that, shape around a specific product. So if I've got this, I can mold EPS directly around this, have all the curves and everything else like that. Can we do the same thing with Woamy, or is Woamy only die cut capable at this point?
Woamy is thermoformable up to a certain extent. Maybe the better reference would be with paper, in the sense that if you go too deep or with too sharp angles, it will break the fibers. But otherwise, let's say up to 2 to 3 centimeters with the right angles, you could do a good imprinting on the foam, on the soft board.
Where does the material work best right now? What types of products, what types of companies should be calling you?
Well, at the moment, because we do think we stand out due to the finishing and the looks of our material compared to other alternatives in the market. And because we are still a small production, working very hard to scale up as fast as we can, but still small. So we are mostly working with smaller products since our volumes are still small, but also with higher end and luxury brands, especially the ones that share the same focus in sustainability that we do. So we can build with them more sustainable packaging. We are excited as well to start working with a little bit of expanded segments within this group.
Yeah. But we're talking about products ranging from interior decoration to, there are the examples from cosmetics and jewelry even. So these are the kind of type of products that we're talking about now.
Yeah.
Of course, there are discussions with various, going all the way to home appliances and electronics, but of course, oftentimes those require a little bit higher volumes, where we are heading with as a company, but we're not ready right now.
Yeah.
So we prefer taking the kind of cases that we can already provide today.
Okay. So I think if you're a brand out there that's working on, even if you're working on high volume product, this isn't a quick switch that you're going to be making, because as you know, there's always R&D, there's always sampling and testing that happens, which can take several months, 6-7 months sometimes. Now's a good time to start talking to you. Now's a great time to start testing and prototyping, finding out what works, what doesn't, so that by the time you're ready to scale and you're ready to launch, you come together nicely. And I'm thinking like a specific brand would be Guerlain fragrance. They do this bee bottle. They have like an entire program around saving the bees. They have these honeycomb patterns all over their bottles. And then the cool thing about this is, even though it comes out like this and you can compress it and do, something like this, if we wanted to put this over the top of it.
Mm.
You've also
Yeah.
done like debossing or texturing. Like I know the box for the wooden cask, you had like a wood texture. Like you can do any kind of texture over the top of this.
Okay, this is our kind of texture portfolio. Like there is a few wooden ones that have been quite popular, but we can also do a little bit of branding. This is our own branding applied to the
Wow.
foam. And it is extremely malleable in terms of embossing. So there is quite a lot of opportunity to play with the patterns on top of either with the sheets by themselves or on top of boards like we have here. We have the wood
Okay.
texture, this one.
Nice.
Yeah, and this is why high-end kind of customers, they are looking for packaging products that they can customize to match their brand, but also to tell a story in addition to protecting their packaging. And this is what we can respond to.
Yeah. So essentially this product is drop-in ready, right? Like I would order it from you. You would die cut it for me. You would put the layers on there. You'd have the texture. I take that at my fulfillment center. I can drop it into my box. I can put my product in there, and then that's all that I have to do.
Yeah, we don't need to do the die cutting and the shaping ourselves. We're happy to work with partners to do that. Right now, to deliver that to customers, that's exactly what we are doing. We don't have we don't have the capabilities to do the die cutting ourselves. So we have partnered up with a couple other companies here in Finland to do this for us, but with in some specific cases, if the customers already have a partner that they trust and is developing the rest of the packaging for them, we are happy to work with them as well.
Okay, so I could buy the sheets, the foam as thick as I need it, and then I can send it to my die cutter who's making the box.
Yeah, you can buy like plain product and design as necessary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So I can go as thick is that as thick as it goes, or I can keep going as thicker?
We in stock we don't go beyond 30 millimeters thick, but it would be possible if there is enough demand, because we need to set up the machine to reach that thickness. So if something we don't have prepared, we might take some time to adjust. But above 30 millimeters, the cutting becomes very challenging. So this is one of the reasons why we are keeping in that. But in terms of manufacturing, there is not that much of a limitation.
Okay. Small because of volumes makes sense today. Is there a limitation on weight and size? So for example, could I put a giant television inside with this product? Like, will that be able to take the cushioning and provide the support that it needs?
Yeah, with the strong direction board with the right density, it should, yes. The load bearing capacity of the material can go very high. It's just also proportional to the density. So if we are working with a foam that is 40 kilos per cubic meter or more, it can take quite high loads.
Okay. Excellent.
But this is also a process that we are always happy to help with the customers that we're working with. So even if you would like to just order the board, so we are happy to then share our knowledge of like what is the best possible densities with our product. And of course, then usually we do tests.
Yeah, and often it's a matter of how you design the cushioning.
Yes.
To take maximum advantage of the strength direction of the material.
Amazing. And then I know it bonds through moisture. So is there a problem with humidity if we're shipping this to high humidity countries or locations?
The foam is not water resistant, but we have tested ourselves humidity up to 80% and 50 degrees, and the material remains as it should. And we have a few customers that have tested in their own site, and they approved the material for that use as well.
The humidity is one that the customers oftentimes care a lot about, and the other thing that often they want to test is the dustiness, or if there are particles, and that is another thing that really stands out with our material compared to other fiber-based foams that often tend to be dustier.
Yeah.
And so our product is not dusty and it's very soft. And these are things that we also see that play to our advantage.
Okay. So for example, on a product wrap, I know with electronics, not necessarily phones, but like, speakers and different components, they'll have like a plastic wrap around them because you want to keep it clean. You don't want to have any of the dust on there. And you also don't want to have any kind of rubbing because of the abrasiveness of the maybe molded fiber insert or the components within the box. So you essentially could take this and wrap it around an electronic product.
Yeah.
Right. And then seal it with water.
Yeah. And this is definitely something that, well, originally when we started off the company, we were very much focused on replacing polystyrenes and different kinds of rigid foams like that. But then we realized more and more, first of all, that many of our customer cases were interested more on the flexible foams, like and our product works very well to that. But then another thing was that we realized that many of them need this crutch protection. And because we start with such thin layers, we can then replace these kind of EPE foam sheets that are used for this purpose.
Yeah, the sealing is something that can definitely be done with a little bit of water, but it's not something we have streamlined yet. We are looking into it at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But even in this kind of application, the focus would be with high-end products, and preferably with the kind of customers who would perhaps want to have, you would have to use different kinds of EPA foams, but if they would rather have something customized for them, that's what we can actually provide to them with our product.
And then if somebody wants to test this product, what is the next step?
Well, we are happy to talk with anyone interested in using our material. Just contacted us through email, and I would say maybe the best step is to have a meeting. I like to start with a meeting because it's much easier for us to know what kind of material to share if we know what is the application and what is the customer needs. And after that, usually we send samples. So it's easier to understand our material if you can touch it. So that's usually the next step. And if we believe that there is potential on both sides, then usually we develop a quick proof of concept with the customer.
Okay.
In a way, this speeds up a bit the process because it's a material that doesn't really resemble anything else out there. So there is a bit of a learning process of how to work with it to take the best out of it. So we like to develop this proof of concepts to speed up this process and already offer something that we know it's likely to work with the customer.
Yeah, but it's also good for people who are listening to remember that we are still currently located in Finland. We'll have to ship the material from here. So right now our main focus is inside Europe, but of course to start early testings with customers
and conversations,
that's of course possible, but eventually we want to then of course expand our reach overseas, because we do believe that in order to make the biggest possible impact, we want to be there where the plastic foam pollution is the biggest, which is not in Finland, actually. So we're bringing the solution from here, but then we want to really be in places where the plastic pollution problem is very tangible.
It's soft. It doesn't, it doesn't like put off any type of excess material. Like I can go like this. I don't see anything falling. There's no dust. There's no components, but it's also like super thin. Like I can see my finger through it, but it still has a lot of cushioning. And so definitely an interesting product. And then, you can shape it around different things.
The material is 90% plus air.
Wow.
So that's where you can see our fingers through, because it varies according with the density, of course, but the ballpark is 90% plus.
Okay. How is it weight wise when you compare it to EPS?
I think we are in the same ranges.
Okay.
Like what we are offering now, not in terms of sheets because the sheets are quite low density, but for the boards, most of the applications we are using between 24 and 48 kilos per cubic meter. So this is similar to EPS. You can get EPS below 24 as well, but for us it's just the material doesn't sustain load so well below that.
Okay. So in one sentence, why is Woamy better than EPS?
Do you want to take this?
And I want you to say something controversial, like you're starting a fight.
I would say because Woamy can fit different scenarios and still be circular.
Yes.
If you are in a scenario where you have good recycling systems, which is the ideal, the material is there to be recycled multiple times and get back into the cycle. But if it happens that, because it's packaging, right, it can end up anywhere in the world. So if it ends up in a place where the systems are not there, it's not going to generate any harm either for us humans in terms of microplastics leading to many issues that people are currently studying, or the environment itself. It will degrade fast enough and get back to the ground or the water without causing any harm.
Yeah. And in the end of the day, even though people come to us because of the sustainability, they want to go away from the plastic foams, they stay with us because of the performance. So you cannot really have one without another. You have to have both. So
yeah.
If I ate this, can I eat? Not that I'm going to eat this. Like, could I eat this? Like, is there anything dangerous in it?
When we founded the company, we used to always use the same ingredients and just make it in the kitchen and feed it for our investors. We would add we added a little bit of blueberry powder in it to give a little bit of nice color.
Or gingerbread flavor over Christmas.
But then it usually creates more questions than answers. So we stopped doing that. It's like, why are you making packaging product that you can eat? And the truth is we are not making it in the kitchen. So but in theory, we could leave it there. So.
All the ingredients that we use to make the foam are food safe.
Perfect.
So as long as we would have the right standards on the production line, it could be edible.
Okay.
It doesn't taste like much, but
it tastes like paper. Yeah. Mostly. So,
but if this is out in the wild and an animal eats it, there's no problem.
Yeah. No.
Probably good for digestion.
A lot of fiber. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Well, I just want to thank you guys for being on. I definitely implore everybody to go check out woamy.com, WOAMY.com. Reach out to Susanna, reach out to Luisa, and get some samples and start testing. Because this stuff is, I've been in love with this material for the last 3 years. I think this is the coolest stuff. Definitely go check it out and test it for yourself.